Hi, I'm Dr. Cass Spencer-Smith at Private Practice Ninja, and today I want to talk about why you need video on your website. Why do you need to have video on your website? Maybe you're already making videos in private practice to promote your private practice. Perhaps you're dabbling with a little bit of patient video, sort of information how-to type videos that you're storing on YouTube. Or maybe you're making Instagram stories. But if you're not putting video on your website, you're actually missing a trick. Let's think about it. The purpose of social media is to grow your brand awareness and increase engagement so people want to kind of know, like and trust you. But ultimately, it's about driving them to your website. Why do you want to do that? So that they can see all the awesome things you do to help people and then hopefully book in to see you. So if there's no video on your website, you're missing a trick. The evidence for using video on your website is ever more overwhelming. There are some stats around this that are pretty impressive. So, if a patient lands on your website and they look at some stuff, 20% of them are likely to read it, the rest will just probably hop off elsewhere. But if you have video on your website, 80% of them will stay and watch the amazing thing that you've recorded. That's pretty important. What's more, if you're trying to convey a complicated message, there's lots of data that suggests a great big wall of text, no matter how beautifully it's presented, is off-putting for patients. So you're actually likely to deter them with a lot of written information. The opposite is true in video format. And it doesn't end there. If a patient views a video rather than reading the information in text, they are 9 times more likely to recall what was said. Video also encourages people to stay on your website. If there's video on a landing page, that's a page people arrive on when they come to the website, they are 60% more likely to stay and play. And that's really important for Google because Google will reward you in the rankings the longer people are on your website. Video is also a great way to make a first impression. 7 out of 10 people say that they trust a brand more having seen a video. That means if you have video on your website that encourages a patient to get to know you a bit, that could be the single differentiator for the patient choosing to come see you as opposed to a similar surgeon down the road who doesn't have video on the website. In other words, video helps build trust. So if you don't have video on your website, you're missing out. Let's talk about where you should put video on your website. The 2 key places, and then you can do loads more after that, are the home page and about pages. Now, when people come to your website, if they found something in search, they literally arrive on a website page, and that's called a landing page. For the majority of people, not universally everybody, but for the majority of people who have a website, that's going to be the home page and the about pages that are the most visited pages. So doesn't it make sense then that you should really optimize those and put video on them? Why? Because they're more likely to hang around and get to know, like and trust you. When it comes to your homepage, it's really important that you think about what it is that the homepage does. And it's quite simple. Firstly, when the patient arrives there, they need to feel that they're in the right place, that they're landing on something that's relevant to them. Yes, that's about me, as opposed to it's about knitting. And then the homepage needs to either direct them to book in to see you or to go somewhere else to get more information on your website. Those are called call to actions. And most of the time, the getting to know you, I'm in the right type of place, and the call to action is missing. Video is a great way to make sure patients know exactly what's expected of them when they land on your homepage. So what content should go into your homepage video? Well, let's imagine you're an orthopedic surgeon and you treat people with knee problems. Why not start your video with a question? For example, are you a patient who's recently had an ACL injury in their knee? Are you struggling to get back to running because of your ACL injury? And then you can lead a bit into discussing the patient's problem with a big dollop of empathy. For example, being a runner myself, I know exactly how frustrating it is to not be able to run because you've got a knee injury. And I see many patients like yourself in my clinic who are struggling to work out whether or not having surgery for their ACL is or isn't the right thing to do. You could then bring into it an example of how you help people. Every week I see runners like yourself who are struggling with this question, and I take them through a process and we work out together whether surgery is the right thing. If they do end up having surgery, thankfully most don't, then I'm very capable of taking care of them because I've treated 1,000 patients like yourself in the last 6 weeks. You get the drift. Give them a call to action. This could mean drawing their attention to how they book in for an appointment with you. For example, why not ring my secretary if you've got a problem with your ACL and you want to get in touch for a consultation? Her email is blah, 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 or her phone number is blah, 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 blah. Or, if you'd like to learn more, why not read more about ACL injuries in our injury section above? What content should go into the About video? Well, on About pages, when we have About videos, the biggest mistake we see is that when it comes to clinicians, it's all about me, and not about the patient. The crazy thing about pages is it should be about the person who's reading it and not about the person it's about. Get your head around that one. Here's what I mean. When patients are on the About page, they're there because they want to find out a bit about you as the human being who's behind the clinician. But they also want to read about their stuff, so they know that you recognise what their stuff is and that you can help them. So here's how to get the About page video right. So let's go back to the example of the knee surgeon. Are you a runner who's got an ACL problem? It's really frustrating, isn't it, when you can't run because you've got an injury? And maybe actually this isn't the first time you've had an ACL problem. Perhaps you've re-torn that ACL and you're trying to figure out, should you go through surgery yet again? I understand what it's like, and I see many patients like yourself in my clinic. Perhaps you've injured your knee and you're concerned that if you go and see a surgeon, you're automatically going to get an operation. I understand that too. But the good news is that for the majority of us, we don't need surgery. But if you do need surgery for your ACL problem, you're in great hands. I've treated 2,000 patients and I trained at Barts Hospital in London. I've carried out fellowships in Sydney in Australia and Stanford in America. And I've trained with some of the best. So I have all the skills that you need to safely take care of that problem if you need surgery. If you're looking for an opinion about whether or not an ACL surgery is going to help you get back to sport, why not book in for an appointment? Underneath there, you can list out all the CV stuff if you like, but make it brief. And frankly, patients aren't particularly interested in reading about all those journals you've written either. They want to know that you can take care of their problem and that you get them. And that's what you're trying to convey in your About page video. Today's take home: if you're not making video for your website, start now. If you need help in figuring out your website video strategy, or even making video, or if you want to learn how to make video, get in touch. We help clinicians like yourself make video for their websites that really works for them and brings more patients to their practice. I'm at CSS at Private Practice Ninja, and I'll see you next time.